Well, as you can see, I'm still wearing my beanie, same clothing. I've decided to carry on with our study, and I want to take you straight back to Daniel chapter 4. We picked up in the last study that Nebuchadnezzar was this great king. And then Daniel goes on in verse 23 by saying, "You, O king, saw a messenger, a holy one coming down from heaven, saying, 'Cut down the tree and destroy it, but leave the stump bound with iron and bronze in the grass of the field, while its roots remain in the ground. Let him be drenched with the dew of heaven. Let him live like wild animals until time passes by for him.'" So he says, the dream continued, O king. And remember, now we know that the tree is a him, and the him is Nebuchadnezzar. Now Daniel says further in verse 24, I'm going to carry on with interpretation, king. O king, and this is what the decree the Most High has issued against my lord the king, against my lord the king. You will be driven away from people and will live with wild animals. You will eat grass like cattle and be drenched with the dew of heaven. 7 times will pass by for you until you acknowledge that the Most High is sovereign over the kingdoms of men and give them to anyone he wishes. The command to leave the stump of the tree with its roots means that your kingdom will be restored to you when you acknowledge that heaven rules. Therefore, O king, be pleased to accept my advice. Renounce your sins by doing what is right and your wickedness by being kind to the oppressed. It may be that then your prosperity will continue. Here we see very clear that Nebuchadnezzar was going to be afflicted with an illness where he would become mad and he would be chased away from his kingdom, dethroned for a while. And for 7 years, he will eat grass. Daniel turns to him. He says, you know, O king, if you will just change and don't allow your pride to take grip of you, then maybe these things will go away. Maybe they will be delayed and you will prosper continually. And it says there in verse 28, all this happened to King Nebuchadnezzar. Wow, it's terrible. All that was mentioned above happened to Nebuchadnezzar. But let's just see something here. It says there, 12 months later, as the king was walking on the roof of the royal palace of Babylon, he said, "Is not this the great Babylon I've built as the royal residence by my mighty power and for the glory of my majesty?" Nebuchadnezzar here all of a sudden looks at his handiwork and pride fills his heart and he says, what a great person I am. Dear friends, the next words to come out of Nebuchadnezzar's mouth was, moo. How do I know this? The words, verse 31, were still on his lips when a voice came from heaven. This is what is decreed for you, King Nebuchadnezzar. Your royal authority has been taken from you. You will be driven away from people and will live with wild animals. You will eat grass like cattle. 7 times will pass by for you until you acknowledge that the Most High is sovereign over the kingdoms of men and gives them to anyone he wishes. 12 months Nebuchadnezzar managed to hold back his pride. And then all of a sudden he stands up and he says these words, and he is stricken. Now, what is also amazing in this prophecy is that it would take Nebuchadnezzar 7 years before he would acknowledge God as king. Isn't this amazing? I mean, dear friends, are you filled with pride? Do you think that you are the greatest person on earth? Would you be eating grass for 7 years? Or will you, in a shorter time period, acknowledge God as the King of the universe, that He does with man as He pleases? Let me just show you something else. Verse 33 says, immediately what had been said about Nebuchadnezzar was fulfilled. He was driven away from the people and ate grass like cattle. His body was drenched with the dew of heaven, until his hair grew like the feathers of an eagle and his nails like the claws of a bird. Now I want you to notice something here that we see right here. Verse 34. So from verse 33 to verse 34, 7 years have passed. Why? Because look at the words that follow in verse 34. At the end of that time, at the end of 7 years, I, Nebuchadnezzar, raised my eyes towards heaven, and my sanity was restored. Then I praised the Most High. I honored and glorified Him who lives forever. His dominion is an eternal dominion. His kingdom endures from generation to generation. You know, dear friends, there's a question that pops up into my mind. Who was looking after Nebuchadnezzar's kingdom while he was eating grass? I mean, it's during this time that other kings could have come and tried and taken over the kingdom. It could have been in this time that even his children tried to rule. But I get the distinct impression that Daniel, who was second in command at God's instruction, that Daniel looked after Nebuchadnezzar's kingdom. Isn't that amazing? He didn't want Nebuchadnezzar's kingdom. He looked after it. He knew, according to the prophecy, that Nebuchadnezzar would be restored back to his kingdom. What a faithful friend Daniel was to Nebuchadnezzar. I want you to notice what Nebuchadnezzar says further. His dominion is an eternal dominion. His kingdom endures from generation to generation. Then I read this in verse 35. All the peoples of the earth are regarded as nothing. He does as he pleases with the powers of heaven and the people of the earth. No one can hold back his hand or say to him, "What are you doing?" Wow. Nebuchadnezzar finally sees that God can do as he pleases, and nobody can ask him the question, "What are you doing?" Verse 36. At the same time, my sanity was restored. My honor and splendor was returned to me for the glory of my kingdom. My advisors and nobles sought me out, and I was restored to my throne and became even greater than before. Now I, Nebuchadnezzar, praise and exalt and glorify the King of heaven, because everything he does is right, and all his ways are just, and those who walk in pride he is able to humble. What an incredible declaration. If you've been wondering if God is a good God, listen to Nebuchadnezzar. He says, because everything he does is right, that is God, and all his ways are just. May this be your experience today. May you humble yourself before God today. May you have a wonderful day.